going to be talking to a few fans to see what their thoughts are on everything that's been happening with our club and News Limited and the sacking of our independent directors. So yeah, we'll talk to them half time before the game and hope you enjoy. Thanks very much. Okay, we're here with Mark. I'm going to ask him a couple of questions, the same questions I asked a bit earlier, and he's going to answer them honestly and without swearing, I hope.
Yeah, mate.
Alright, unlike Fiona, who swore all through hers, which will need a lot of constant bleeping. Alright, question one. What's your opinion in regards to the penalties imposed on our club by David Gallop and the National Rugby League?
Absolute bullshit.
Well, we spoke about swearing.
Bullshit's not swearing.
No, that's not, is it? Especially when it comes to him. Alright. With 6 rounds left, including this one, how do you think the team has dealt with the penalties imposed and, more importantly, not being able to play for premiership points?
I think we're fantastic.
Fantastic.
We keep coming out there every day trying to win and showing the best effort we can.
Fantastic. Alright. Sorry for the shouting and everything. We're doing this at half time.
That's alright.
The 4 independent directors were sacked, and many of us members believe it was to stop the court action. Do you think this act by News Limited is due to the fact they have something very serious to hide?
Probably, most likely.
Most likely. And what do you think they're hiding, Mark?
Mate, they're hiding the fact that the NRL is an absolute joke and it's a cheat. Look at every other club, mate. Look at it all.
Mark's here with his family and they're all nodding and agreeing. and we're all nodding, aren't we?
Yes.
Okay. Are you amazed that only a small portion of the Deloitte's report has been released? And again, do you think that News Limited is covering up for their own indiscretions?
Of course they are. Do you both?
No.
They're shitting themselves.
They are?
Busted.
And elaborating on that hiding, what do you think they have got to hide? Do you think that they haven't investigated properly? Do you think that there's systematic rorting with other clubs?
There's, of course, a systematic rorting. You look at all the other clubs where they're built together. The Broncos, how as if they could afford Darren Lockyer for this long. You look at the South Sydney's forward pack, the most expensive forward pack I've ever seen, and they're still shit.
Now, I'd just like to share with everyone, Mark is the most intelligent person we've spoken to. Right. With News Limited owning our football club, and now with the sacking of our 4 independent directors, how do you think the club will handle this and go next year?
Well, to be honest, mate, we'll fight like we always have and come out winning again.
Very good point. Okay. And finally, Mark, you've been fantastic. Would you be happy the day News Limited eventually does decide to sell this club? And do you have a message for Mr. Hartigan and his team at News Limited? Just reminding you that swearing bullshit was alright, but nothing harder.
Oh, let's just be honest, mate. We'll sell the team, go to someone better than we are and better, and we'll leave that history behind, and we'll make a new history.
Very well said.
Better, stronger.
Alright, and would you like me to introduce me to your team there, Mark?
Yeah, mate. The old man's Russell.
Russell, g'day, Russell.
And this is my son, Benny.
Your son, Benny. How old are you?
No, it's not really my son. I'm a slight guy.
Thanks, guys. Good on you. That's Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.
G'day, Fiona. If I can get your attention, please. Alright, I've just got some questions to ask you, and I want you to answer them honestly, which I'm sure you will. And Greg's with you too, so g'day.
Yeah.
Alright, so we're going to ask you a couple of questions, and your responses would be, honest responses would be great. Alright, what's your opinion in regards to the penalties imposed by our club, by David Gallop and the National Rugby League?
Well, I think David Gallop's for not treating Melbourne Storm the same as what he's treated the other clubs. They give the other clubs money to pay their bills, pay their players, but no, Melbourne Storm didn't get it. Asshole, and News Limited are no better.
Thank you, Fiona. And what about you, Greg? Do you echo those sentiments?
Yeah, I totally agree with Fiona. It's like look after Sydney clubs, but you know, like you in Melbourne, you're just nobody down there, and you've got too big, too quick, and want to put you down the run or two. That's the attitude. That's what Gallup's after.
Very well said. All right, with 6 rounds, including this one, left in the season, how do you think the team has dealt with the penalties imposed, and more particularly not being able to play for premiership points? Anyone jump in at any time.
Yeah, I think the team's handled quite well. They're still giving their all. I know they've lost a few games, and it hasn't been much of it. But they're really trying, and they're playing for this, where they're playing for money for charities, which is really, really good incentive for the club to get as much as they can and beat the other clubs and shape the 8. You know, even though we're not playing for points, we can still shape the 8. We can still beat the other clubs, and they're really giving their all.
Very well said. All right, question 3. The 4 independent directors were sacked, and many of us believe it was to stop the court action. Do you think this act by News Limited is due to the fact they have something very serious to hide?
Well, News Limited sacked our 4 independent directors because they were absolutely shit scared and shaking in their pants like John Hardigan was on TV, didn't know what was going to come out of his mouth and nearly started to cry when he's saying that these penalties were imposed. And yeah, where's the 33 pages that have gone missing? Hardigan shredded them in his paper shredder.
All right. Well, that kind of blends into the next question. Are you amazed that only a small portion of the Deloitte's report was being released? And do you think, again, this is an example of News Limited covering something very serious up?
Not surprised at all. As you say, Jamie, it's a big effort to try and cover the things up. They want less coverage of what they can get. Had it gone to court, it would have been in the papers for days and days and days. They don't want that. They just want to bury it. That's why they just want the court case out of the way. They sack the directors until they just get it out of the way now. They know now we can't afford to run the case, the court case, and that's the best way of hiding it now.
Very good, very well said, Greg. Very good point. All right, with News Limited owning the football club and now with the sacking of our independent directors, how do you think the club, with all this in mind, will go next year?
As long as News Limited own Melbourne Storm, well, I hope Melbourne Storm can move on, but News Limited will never move on because they're two-faced and they've got their head shoved up their arse.
All right, final question as I'm getting the hurry up. Would you be happier the day News Limited eventually does decide to sell the club? And have you a message, Fiona and Greg, for Mr. Hardigan, who may or may not be watching this?
Well, Mr. Hardigan, you... from you.
And Greg, you're going to do well to beat that, Greg.
I reckon the club will survive. While the supporters are there supporting the club, the players are giving their all. We're right behind the Storm and we'll continue. And when the News Limited sell the club, it'll be better off in other hands. And sure, it's no good having News Limited owners of the club and in the NRL as well. And also on the Broncos, so how can you have one corporation over two sides of the NRL?
Very well said. Listen, guys, passionate guys. We all share the same dream of one day this organisation does get out of our club, but thank you very much. And I hope people who watch this will get on board and join our fight. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jamie.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Good on you, guys.
Hey, this all the single...
We're at Amy Park and it's hailing, a gale. And everyone's run up the top, but not me. I'm facing it out. Come Melbourne! We're at Amy Park and it's hailing, a gale. And everyone's run up the top, but not me. I'm facing it out. Come Melbourne! Okay, I'm here with George. What did you think of that, George?
Watching the Storm towel up the Raiders, that was fantastic, mate.
Which Storm are you talking about? The football team or the one that come through Amy Park?
Both of them. That's pretty impressive, yeah.
And who do you think played well today?
Today, I thought Billy Slater was great. Cooper Cronk was great. I thought Kevin Proctor was really interesting. He did play a good
game, didn't he?
He played some good games. But yeah, overall it was a good game. And the Raiders are a good team.
Yep.
So that effort against a good team that was playing for their entire season was really, really creditable, I thought.
Good stuff. And you were telling me before you've been a member since '99.
Yep.
99. You've been here through thick and thin, so I think you're quite well qualified to answer the next few questions I'm going to ask you.
Okay, Jamie.
What are your thoughts on everything that's happened this season, mainly April 22, with obviously everything that came to light, and then the follow-up court cases, the independent directors getting sacked? What are your thoughts on everything?
Look, it reminds me of why we ended up with Super League too. I think that the NRL's really happy to have teams outside of Sydney. It's just not happy to have them win. As soon as they're winning, they start to sink the boot in. The NRL's done nothing to really support rugby league in Melbourne. It needs rugby league in Melbourne because it needs the money. What it wants is a team here that provides them with the money, provides them with the television coverage, but doesn't win. You know, it's all about, it's a Sydney-centric organisation, and it's very, very backward looking.
It is. And what are your thoughts, obviously with the directors getting sacked, which, you know, they were probably going to uncover a fair few demons in the closet of News Limited. What do you think News Limited are hiding at the moment, and what did you think was there to their detriment, the fact that the directors were taking them to court? What do you think would have been found?
Well, I don't know, Jamie. All I'd say is that it's a sad circumstance where people are scared of the truth. And the interesting thing about the court case was the potential for more truth to be uncovered. I think the more we know, the better off we are as supporters, as a club, and as a game. So, you know, it would have been good to have the court case go ahead. It would have been good to find out what happened. I mean, the idea that the NRL could bring down their rulings in an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever it was seems a little bit bizarre. And, you know, when you talk to AFL people who've gone through their own salary cap scandals and things, they just cannot believe A, the severity of the penalties, and B, the sort of high-handed and gratuitous way that they were handed down. But I'm not sure what we can do about it. I think the sooner we have a independent commission, the better. And I think all that we can do as Storm members is just keep turning up and keep on supporting them. And remember that as we do that, we're really getting up the nose of the people who you know, did this to us.
Very, very good point. Now, the last question, probably the hardest. You've answered everything fantastically well. What do you think is the future for Melbourne without News Limited? Like, obviously, after the TV rights deals comes about, News Limited probably will want to move on from this club and sell it to someone who does passionately love it, unlike they do. Would you even be happy to see News Limited bail earlier and someone come in and buy the club who loves it, as us long-term members and even new members do?
Yeah, look, I think so, Jamie. I think it'd be good if somebody came in and tipped some money in, apart from News Limited. I mean, I think that you know, that in some ways we should be grateful for News Limited's support over the 10 years, but the contradictions of them being, you know, a major media player and an owner of the competition and an owner of clubs, I think we've seen with what happened to Melbourne Storm. So I don't think that that's a sustainable model. As far as what happens with Melbourne in the future, I think it will be a struggle. I think it's a very expensive thing running a rugby league team and running it in a really crowded sporting market. But I don't think that the NRL can afford not to have Melbourne here, so I'd like to see a little bit more support from them. Similar support to what the AFL gives to its interstate teams in non-traditional states.
Fantastic, George. Well, thanks very much, and we have a chance for the premiership next year. We can't win it this year, quite clearly.
I think we're a good chance of the premiership next year. I think it'll really depend on what sort of forwards we can keep and what sort of forwards we can discover. I think, you know, people like Brian Norrie are a good example of how the real talent for the Storm, and I guess this is the untold story about it all, is Storm's ability to take people who are either unknown or people whose careers are going nowhere, and turn them around and really find what's best in them. I think
probably speaking about players like Lima, Tandy, players like that.
Yeah, well, look at Tandy, you know, who he could hardly get a game, came down here, and undoubtedly that's brought the best out of him, and he's just got a new 2-year contract with the Bulldogs, which is fantastic for the guy. Really happy for him. But I think I'd really like to see Greg Inglis stay, obviously.
All right, we're here with David, and I was going to ask him a few questions about everything that's been happening. First of all, David, what do you think of today?
I thought it was a great performance by the boys. I mean, there were some times where the Raiders were on our line, and we just held them out. It was great football.
It was great football. What did you think? And I know what I thought. What did you think when the weather turned nasty in an accident? Another storm came into AAMI Park.
How ironic was that? There were 2 storms at the AAMI Park.
Do you think they were both under the salary cap?
I know one of them was.
And the other one won't be investigated because they're not the Melbourne Storm. Okay, okay. Some more serious questions. What have been your thoughts on everything that's happened since April 22? Obviously, you were there when Dr. Moody did that initial press conference. I mean, I saw you there actually. What have you thought? The way things have happened, the penalties imposed, the investigations, the subsequent sacking of the directors who have tried to take it to court. What are your thoughts on everything?
I just think that there's no free speech in rugby league anymore. I mean, you criticise News Limited and you get sacked. I mean, the only reason David Gallop is the CEO of the NRL is because he answers directly to news. And I just think the penalties were harsh. I mean, fine us as much as you want, take away maybe 40 points, but the ability not to play for points is ridiculous. I mean, the Bulldogs were $1.5 million over the cap, and they were still able to go from -40, and they were still able to earn points. I don't remember, because it was so long ago, what they ended up with, but I mean, to make us stay on 0 is just absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, and what do you think with News Limited involved in the Storm and obviously owning the club? Do you think there is a way forward with them at the helm, or do you think that with News Limited gone, this club can break the chain, for instance, and start to forge an identity of its own and start to really concentrate on its future?
I believe News Limited needs to get out of rugby league. I mean, the harm that they did with the Super League Wars, it almost destroyed the game, and the harm that they're doing to Melbourne Storm, I mean, it's hypocritical. You see, News Limited owns half of the NRL, and they also own the Melbourne Storm. I mean, there's a definite conflict of interest there.
That's right.
But I mean, if they're going to continue to pump money into the Storm, then they can stay. But I really think that they should,
should part ways.
Part ways.
Okay, finally, what do you think? Well, if Mr. Hartigan's watching at the moment, who has been a very outspoken critic of our football club, what would be your message to him from basically try and speak from a fan's perspective, because we're obviously very, very passionate members? What would be a message to him from us?
All right, sir. When you said at the press conference that you know how it feels, you weren't at Canberra when you got pumped in beer and got things thrown at you. You weren't at New Zealand when you every 5 seconds they were calling you cheats. You do not know how we feel. You have absolutely no clue.
Beautiful. Thanks heaps, Dave. Dave is at the game today and saw everything happen, so I appreciate your time, Dave, and we'll see you at the next home game.
All right.